You're listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast brought to you by DraftKings. There we go. And great deal going on right now. You throw down $1 on an NFL game, and if either team scores, you get $100 in free plays. Team's going to score. There you go. All right, we got a lot to get to right here. We're joined by John Schuster, Anthony Gimino. Anthony doesn't know it, but Anthony's got a surprise set up for this show, so we'll see what's going on.
Yeah, that's a great surprise, Mike.
There you go.
Happy holidays, Anthony.
It's such a surprise that even I don't know about it.
It really is. It takes off in that regard. But Arizona wins 90-65. And guys, it's becoming a little bit redundant, but it's a good kind of redundancy in that when Arizona plays teams that just aren't as good as Arizona, they blast them, and they blast them in a resounding fashion there, Shu.
This was a nice game in a variety of ways. Again, another 25-point win for Arizona. Cats put 90 on the board. Defense looks good. They forced 20-plus turnovers, scored in transition. As a result of that, I thought this had the potential to be a relatively ugly game for Arizona. Haven't played for a week, got the one game a few days postponed. On the road, maybe uncomfortable from three-point range. Shots aren't falling perhaps as well as you might expect or hope that they would. And even with all of that, and, you know, with good hustle on Oregon State's part and having issues as far as some Beaver offensive rebounding was concerned, for the most part, Arizona did what it has done throughout the course of this year when things have gone well. They went on about 2 runs and put the game away. One in the first half where they were down, I think 5 at one point, went on a 16-0 run. I don't know that the game was much less than double figures at any point from there on out. And in the second half, from about minute 8 through 12, pulled away and put the game away.
AG?
Yeah, there was that stretch. It wasn't an Arizona run, but Mathurin had 9 consecutive points for Arizona. And from that point, they were up 14, and then it was over after that. But that's what – I mean, it's not getting boring watching this team have fun and play well. And my first love will be the defense, because Oregon State really wanted no part of getting up and down the court with Arizona. So Arizona's defense made them play, sped them up, and made them play faster. So it was that case of Arizona imposing its will on a lesser team, as you mentioned in the beginning, Mike. And that wasn't always what we've seen in recent years.
Well, let's get to some of the comments right here, because I think that kind of, goes right into what we're talking about right here. We've got and I'm trying to find it here. We've already got over 40 comments because we're cool and we've got awesome listeners out there. So, one guy, and I'm sorry I can't find it at the moment, but he said this is a game that Arizona wins 66-56 under Miller, and I think that's probably about right. Now, one Sean Seeley put on there, the Prince of the East Side. He said Saguaro graduate. He said, did this just turn into Benn Mathurin's team? Now, the reason that I think that's an interesting question is because we've talked all season about Koloko and how good he's been. Azuolas Tubelis, we all know. The one guy, though, that definitely has a flair out there and a little bit of a pizzazz with the ball that I don't know anybody else on the team has is Benn Mathurin. So I think that's a fascinating point. What do you guys think about that?
I think this is a pick your poison team. I think for the first 4, 5, 6 games, we saw teams unprepared for how good Christian Koloko was. And now not only is he an actual part of the offense where Arizona's integrating a lot of high-low passes and trying to make him option one, but teams are double teaming him now.
Right.
Ben got off to the slow start, so I think teams are picking their poison. They've seen what Koloko and Tubelis have done, because those two have just been killing everybody. Now, they've also been killing everybody because a lot of teams they're playing just physically aren't in the same weight class at all. You're going to start playing, Oregon State, they're not super talented up front, but they have size.
Right.
Now, Arizona's going to start seeing a bunch of teams that look more like them in terms of front court size. So now you throw Mathurin into the mix and you've got all kinds of balance. So I think you're going to see some games where Mathurin does this, 29 points, a lot of boards, shooting threes, crazy athletic fast break dunks. And I think you're going to see games where it's Koloko and Tubelis.
Right. Shu?
I would suggest that it's Mathurin's team when they need it to be, but more often than not, it's a lot like what Anthony just broke down. Arizona is better off when it has an ability to spread the ball. But against some of the better teams that they're going to have to face, as Anthony noted.
I know what you almost did there.
They are there are times where they're going to have to figure out who gives them the best ability to get a big bucket. And it appears that Mathurin may be athletic enough to be the guy who can create his own shot on the most consistent basis. With big guys, sometimes you still got to get it to them on the inside. And if they can't come out to the perimeter to try to set some things up, you can double team and sort of try to take them out of the game from time to time. When you have somebody on the wing, it's a little wing, and in the backcourt, it's a little bit different. They can create a little bit. Now, I like that Arizona has been the type of team that doesn't mind passing the ball 4 or 5 times on the offensive end, that it's shown an unselfishness. But every now and again, when things bog down in the half court, and they're going to, it's not a bad idea to have somebody on the roster who you can go to, who you can feel comfortable about getting a bucket when you need it. And it appears that the guy who's closest to that list is Mathurin. It's kind of interesting in that in the first week or so, the people seemed to not really figure out what it was that Arizona was trying to accomplish. It was Mathurin. And then in the last 2 or 3 games, that's completely changed, which is a great thing to see. And it makes Arizona even more versatile on the offensive end. So there's a lot of pick your poison going on, which offensively is what you want, because again, you're going to get into situations in the half court where, you're going to have some grinded out possessions here and there. But it appears to me that Mathurin is the guy who is probably best suited in difficult positions to give you a tough bucket.
I think what's exciting too about this team, guys, is, and I think one thing that's maybe becoming maybe a little bit of a concern, and concern is relative, is that it doesn't appear to be a great shooting team. But you look at this team, though, across the board physically, and again, they're not going to be physically overmatched against any team in the country. Now, there's going to be teams that are better than them, Gonzaga, Duke, probably better than Arizona. But 1 through 5, 1 through 8, they're never going to go into a game where you're like, oh gosh, I don't know that Arizona is going to be able to handle their perimeter pressure or the big man down low. Arizona checks off all those boxes physically.
If Arizona is dealing with, maybe Duke's better, maybe Gonzaga's better, that means your year is a heck of a lot. You're a heck of a lot further along in this program than people thought.
Right.
The other group,
right? That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah. I mean, the other groups of teams that interest me a little bit for a couple different reasons. Alabama looked excellent against Gonzaga last night.
Against your Zags.
A team like Arkansas, a team like Baylor. Now, again, these are top flight teams with really good backcourts, and good backcourts can dictate and maybe negate a little bit of what Arizona wants to do in terms of trying to force turnovers and getting out in the fast break. But one thing I differ with Anthony a little. One of the things that Anthony said earlier on about Oregon State, I think Oregon State showed a little bit of a blueprint of how other teams with talent are going to try to attack Arizona. My guess was that a lot of teams were going to try to slow it down, use guard play, milk clock, and get games into the 60s and the 70s. Oregon State started this game entirely different. They attacked Arizona's transition defense. So I think that's an area that a lot of teams are going to, because what you have right now, Tommy Lloyd in Arizona they're still kind of a mystery. You don't know what you have yet. You've got 5 games. You understand that it's sort of Gonzaga. I think that's what he wants to try to do. How good is Arizona? The film from last year doesn't really help you a whole heck of a lot. But now that now that you've been able to, get some video on them, you understand what it is they're trying to do, and then you can see where it is that maybe they're a little weak. And I think coming into this game, Oregon State felt they had size, they could get the rebound, and they could have looks in transition going the other direction, which I thought was interesting because we think of Arizona rightfully as being a very quick team, but they may not be as adept as we would like in transition defense. And if that happens, then against really good teams, they may give up easy buckets as well. And I think that's something that we might see how well they shore up and whether that's something, a way that other teams decide to try to attack them as the season moves along.
One thing, though, go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, I totally thought Oregon State was they were kind of feeling themselves in the first 5 minutes of the game, where they were running and they were forcing some turnovers. After that, once Arizona completely flipped the script right after that, and they were the ones forcing a ton of turnovers. And after that, I think Oregon State just wanted to melt some clock and dribble out and really turn it into a grind. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see if we haven't seen a lot of teams really get into Arizona's guards. If Justin Kier is your backup point guard, does he have the handle you want? If you got to play in 10 minutes a game, we're going to see a lot of Kirk Kriisa. And to Mike's point there, is that on the screen, Mike?
Yeah, that's on the screen. That's not Mike. That's not Mike Luke. That's Mike Zuniga.
Mike Zuniga. That's a great question and a great topic because most of the time I kind of catch myself saying, "Don't shoot that three."
Right.
If only because there's a lot of different options. He can always get that shot, and he's not really hitting at a great percentage right now. But
let's
sure
talk.
has a lot of confidence.
You know what? Let's talk about that. We've got a new segment coming up here. One thing, though, that we can all agree on first is, you know what? Shu and AG just disagreed there a little bit, but I can tell you one thing they'll never disagree on, and that's DraftKings Sportsbook app. It's easy. You got a great deal going on that even me, a bad bettor, can win. That if I put down $1 on an NFL game and the team scores, I get $100 in free plays. That's going to happen, even for me. And you know what? If it can happen for me, it can happen for Shu. It can happen for AG. It can happen for Sean Seeley, Anthony Humbert, KB Thiel, everybody contributing right now. As always, 21 and up, Arizona only. Gambling problem, 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. All right, so we've got a new segment coming up here, and this is going to be a big feature of the show going forward when we are lucky enough to have Anthony on, and that is a segment that we are going to call Tony's Takes. So we got Tony Gimino on here right now.
So ridiculous.
That segment is such fire. Man, that's a hot segment. That's really good stuff.
Here's what we're going to do again, just to show everybody out there the amazing work that we've done.
That's beautiful.
I mean,
kudos to the graphic designer. That's amazing.
That was my old profession. So, but hence Tony's takes. What are your ultimate takeaways from this game, Anthony or Tony?
From this game,
yeah,
I'm going to go back. I mean, all season long, I love this defense. Whether it's pressing, it's on the ball, attacking. The reason we're talking about Arizona being fun to watch and all this transition offense and dunking is because of defense. You can't do that out of the pack line.
Right, exactly. That's the key. And I think that's a great Tony take right there.
And they entered this game leading. We can talk about their offense, them scoring 90 points, leading the country in assists. I'm much more interested in them before this game and leading the nation in field goal percentage defense.
Right. No, and I think, Anthony, or just for this one segment, are we allowed to call you Tony, or does it have to still be Anthony?
I think it's Anthony, but the graphics fantastic.
Okay. All right. So, by the way, we've gotten a lot of good comments already on the graphic design. Woo, Tony's takes. Laughing my ass off. Freaking awesome. Tony's takes. Yes, we're giving the people what they want. And it all,
you can help me by giving me a heads up this is coming.
No,
well, no, it's
absolutely not.
Yes, it's not coming. Well, now you can.
We want to. Mike wants to showcase your impromptu improbabilities. That's right. Your spontaneity. Bam. You're going to be right there now. Now I don't think you're on your toes right now. I can't see, but I'm betting that in the future, that very well may be the case, and I certainly look forward to more of the takes, Tony style.
In all fairness.
We need to be doing this like at a pizza joint, guys.
This seems like a Mike Luke inspired term, but I will say that the guy above you right there, to your left or right, who's not wearing the hat, I don't know how you're looking at this right now, that term was actually coined by one John Schuster, not Mike Luke, on another platform. So don't blame me. But all right, guys, let's Anthony, I think that you make a great point there, and I want to get back to Kerr in a second, where yes, you could play really good defense with, a lot of Miller's teams played really good defense, but the defense just resulted in a stop. And it didn't result in any kind of transition going the other way, no matter how much they tried to sell running and gunning. So, I think that's something that when you see this team right now, that the offense is being set up by the defense in a way that we haven't seen since Lute was here.
Who wants to take that? Sure, I'll take that.
Choose takes.
Right, boy, that's got nowhere near the ring.
No alliteration.
There is no alliteration. Of course, Gimino and the other guy come up with the word alliteration. The real writers, the multi-platform broadcast professional host there, just puts it all together, and it's genius. And those are, and it's kind of one of those things that I want to see how well they play when they can't consistently make that happen. It has been outstanding what they have been able to do, turning defense into positive point offense. And again, I think they forced more than 20 turnovers against Oregon State tonight.
Right.
But you do that through two ways. You do that through getting a rebound and pushing it, and forcing turnovers and pushing it and getting easy buckets. That was good. Put that all aside and consider something else, though. How many good looks does Arizona tonight have in the second half in their half-court offense? A lot. And they scored quite a bit of those in the paint. So even though we're talking about, Kerr, don't take the 3-point, Mathurin, I don't know, you can maybe get a better shot. More often than not, Arizona did get really good looks. They got Koloko more involved in the second half. I thought the Ballo kid played reasonably well. You can see how raw
he's a keeper. Yeah, for sure.
But he may be somebody, you don't want to see him playing 15 minutes a game at this stage. But if he can give you a solid 6, and then maybe next month he gives you a solid 8, and then the month after that a solid 10, you can have a very nice contributor who improves on a fairly consistent basis and be good for the program. So that's very nice as well. But their willingness and ability to get into the paint, I thought was very good. And naturally throughout the course of the year, there's going to be a lot of, it's totally understandable, Gonzaga comparisons. Well, one of the things Gonzaga did very well last year was they scored more in the paint than any other team in college basketball. So it looks like Arizona, there are threes available, and Mike's right. They're not a particularly, hot shooting team. Hopefully they can keep you honest and make enough, and the good looks are enough that they create as a result. But Arizona, if they keep moving the ball like this, is going to score a bunch on the inside, and that's good news.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing too that just kind of piggyback on Shu's point, and KB Thiel just put that out here as well. When Umar Ballo came over from Gonzaga, I was wrong, but it won't be the first or the last time I was wrong. But I was figuring that he was kind of going to be kind of a Gene Edgerson type, big physical guy that not a lot of skill, but you know what? He plays 8 minutes a game. This is somebody that looks like if Christian Koloko leaves, if you have to put him in the starting center position, I don't go into next season or the season after that saying, oh gosh, what are we going to do there? He's more than capable out there. He's just locked behind a guy in Koloko that's on another level right now, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, Koloko has it locked down as the most pleasant surprise of the season.
Mm-hmm. But in college basketball, maybe.
It absolutely. But Ballo is number 2
mm-hmm.
because, you looked at his very short body of work at Gonzaga and thought, oh, he's a guy who's just going to be able to fill in a few minutes a game, take up space, throw some elbows, that kind of thing. But he's got the size and some skills, and he moves well. So yeah, I mean, I look forward to seeing him grow in minutes over the next couple of years after Koloko leaves.
Let me ask you guys this: we've seen a lot of top 10 basketball programs here at the U of A. Just from what you guys have seen so far, and again, we're 7 games in, does this feel to you like a top 10 basketball program when you look around the landscape of college basketball? Again, I know it's early. I'm not going to hold you to this unless it's Anthony who says something that's wrong, and then I will hold him to it. But what do you guys think about that, though? Does this look aesthetically like a top 10 program or a top 10 team?
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Are we talking about a top 10 program? That's a longer
top 10 team. Sorry,
or are we talking about a top 10 team? We're talking about a top 10 team right now. Yeah, and every metric plays that out. And take the metrics for what it's worth. Okay, I don't know if you saw some of the Seth Greenberg at the half even had Arizona in his top 4. Ken Palm, I think, has Arizona in its top 4. A couple of the analytics sites have Arizona anywhere from, I think, 3 to 7. If you look at what they're bringing to the equation, they're not beating bad teams by relatively small amounts of killing teams.
Right.
They're putting teams away. That's great. So, there's reason to feel good. Now, are they susceptible to matchups against really good teams? Yes, probably. Michigan State is a team, as an example, I'll just throw some names out there. If you're concerned about Michigan State, that's a good thing because it means that, Arizona is progressing further along than maybe we thought they would at this stage. That's excellent news. But, using Michigan State as an example, team that rebounds and uses rebounds to get out in transition. Again, based on what I saw, and it's a small sample size, I have a feeling that athletic teams believe that they can beat Arizona in transition defense. And that's what they're going to try to do to, in essence, match what it is that the U of A wants to do as far as its own offense is concerned. So you're going to get a lot of running up and back, and it's great to watch, but you're not necessarily going to be able to string together the runs that you want to. So teams that have good backcourts and teams that can clean the glass are going to be problems for a lot of people. But I think they could be an issue as far as Arizona is concerned as well. The team more notably in this conference that concerns me, and they should concern a lot of people, is USC. Because USC has the type of size that can really make things difficult and make games ugly. Arizona wants to make games pretty. USC wants to make
Isn't
games
that weird
ugly.
to say? Doesn't that just feel weird to say?
It is. It's nice to hear too, and not just because I have a great voice, but it's that those become really interesting style games that I think could be very fascinating, and it'll be good tests. There'll be good tests for both teams to see who's better at imposing their will.
AG?
Yeah, I'm not going top 10 team yet because I looked it up for you, Shu. They're number 12 right now in Ken Palm, and it's already been updated with the.
Thank you, Anthony.
And the thing about the 11 teams ahead of Arizona right now, they've all played a much better schedule. Arizona. Yeah, Michigan. I mean, Michigan losing again after the Arizona loss. Okay, it was Carolina, but they got blown out again. Certainly didn't help. So the strength of schedule, I think, is going to be one of those things that are going to at least have some national folks still on the fence.
I think what's going to.
I mean, there's Illinois, Tennessee, and the LA road trip coming up in the next. We're
going to know. I think we're going to have the questions we're asking right now, where we're trying to project. I don't think we're going to have to project a month from now because, like you just said, Anthony, you've got Illinois, you've got Tennessee, and then you've got that LA road trip. I think that we're going to have a really, really good idea of where everything stands, just like we have a really good idea of where the DraftKings Sportsbook app stands right now. Now, again, here's the deal. $1 on an NFL game. If either team scores, you get $100 for a new, I almost said new listener, a new player, new subscriber, whatever the term is. And I'm going to give you a little bit of advice out there, people. Take the over in these U of A games. I made a living off taking the under in the past. No more. You want to live on the over. You want to live on the over right now because these games are up and down. They're fun to watch, and they are exciting as well. So, but let's move forward here a little bit. Oh, real quickly, am I wrong in thinking that Oregon State should be better than 1-7?
Yeah, no, you're not. I mean, you're no.
They
you are
look
correct.
the part.
You are correct in your assessment, and
Thanks.
I think I am surprised by that record, and I'm guessing that the Oregon State coaching staff is surprised by that too. But one of the things that I think they're going to be a much improved team in a couple months. In about 6 weeks, they're going to, maybe they start out slow in conference play, but much like their in-state rival Oregon, which goes through this process as well. I think Oregon State is going to be a heck of a lot better 6 weeks from now, 2 months from now, than the team out there. You can see pieces that just aren't fitting together, but I think Tinkle is a good coach that he can get the improvement that he's hoping. And frankly, that's going to need to happen because right now there is such a massive separation of everybody else in this conference. It's like you have, in no particular order, Arizona, UCLA, USC are all good teams, really good teams that appear that they could make significant tournament runs and be a problem for a lot of others. And you have a lot of stuff that looks like crap. All right, and that's got to get better because a lot of the top teams in the conference each other all the time.
Wait a second.
But I'm totally okay with this because we spent, 4 or 5 years of the team just everybody being kind of mediocre.
Right.
And everybody looking like they're going to be 9-9. I don't mind a few separations and having UCLA and
well, Anthony, I think my concern isn't that Arizona, UCLA, and USC could be 16-2. My concern is that it looks like everybody else is going to win 2 games in this conference, and so it's not like I think they're going to. There may be a lot of 9-9 teams because they just beat up on equal crap. But it doesn't feel. I'd prefer that the conference had a team like Oregon State that improves, a team like Oregon, who I think is going to be significantantly better.
I think Washington State's going to be a tough out, especially up in Pullman.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's not a tough out though. ASU.
Right.
ASU is not going to be a tough out.
I hope I'm wrong. Hey, like Mike said, then if it's wrong, it's not going to be the last time I'm wrong unless I'm dead. So hopefully I'm still around for some of these broadcasts. But I'm right now, what I'm seeing as far as some of these teams just look, if you want to eye test Arizona and like what you see, and are they or aren't they potentially a top 10 team before this all sifts out? Okay. Then I'm eye testing a lot of other teams in this conference as well. And I'm just seeing dregs. And maybe that's just the nature of college basketball as a whole, still trying to navigate all the COVID stuff. Maybe there are just too many Division I basketball teams, but I don't get a good feeling right now about a middle healthy conference. I'm great with the A tier. That's fantastic, but it feels like we're going from A to F. And I want I want some B's and I want some C's. And then, you tolerate the D's and the F's. Every conference has it. But I feel like this is a 12-team league that has 3 A's and, 2 D's and 7 F's.
AG,
and I'm hoping I'm wrong about that.
AG, do you want to hit Shu with the uppercut or should I?
Do it.
All right. Watch this. Boom. All right. So I don't know
we
what
need
that
a
was.
graphic. I don't know. But we certainly need a future graphic for it.
Yeah.
The uppercut. Yes. But I think those 3 are fine. I think the body of work with Oregon, it will, as she would like to say, would suggest that they'll be fine by the top of the year. So you got those 4 teams. Wazoo, I disagree with Shu a little bit there. I think Wazoo is a pretty decent team. I mean, they almost beat USC. They got a couple players that are pretty good. Noah Williams and the kid down low that I'm drawing a blank on his name. But but I think what Shu's point is though is that ASU is total poop. They're awful. Washington is terrible. Cal is not good. Stanford is not good. And I think the problem, and I think this is what Shu is kind of pointing to, is there are teams here that I don't necessarily see getting any better, but I do disagree with Shu here, and that I think if you can give me 4 good teams, like 4 legitimately really good teams, and right now you got 3, and I can probably count on Oregon joining that group in a month or so. That's a lot different than we've had in the past, where, like you said, it just seems like every team was 9-9. AG.
Yeah, I'm totally okay with that. The problem with the Pac-12 has been, yeah, they were all kind of good, but they were all 8, 9, 10 seeds in the NCAA tournament.
Right. Exactly.
So I don't mind having 3 or 4 teams that
are top 3 seeds.
Yeah, I mean, okay. They're not all going to be top 3 seeds, but maybe 5 or 6, and you figure they got a shot at Sweet 16. And maybe somebody like Oregon State last year surprises and goes all the way to the Elite
And then it looks, I can see your point. It looks a little better, if it lays out, if quote unquote 3 Pac-12 teams are in the Sweet 16, because that's how the stat,
or 3 Elite 8 like last year.
Sure.
If we're trying to enhance and improve the reputation of the Pac-12, which began a little bit in last year's postseason, then you're going to need those elite teams. Nobody cares about, we're a really deep team. We're a really deep league, and our 9-9 team can beat your 8-10 and 8 team.
See, I think there's a little of two. You need elite teams, clearly. You need teams that can play anybody anywhere and have an opportunity to make deep runs. Arizona might be one of those teams. Maybe they're a little bit more advanced this year than we expected. UCLA is expected to have that happen. USC looks good at this stage. I think you guys are right. There's reason to believe that Oregon and Oregon State are going to get better, and Washington State plays good defense. Okay. I don't know that I don't see Washington State in any stage like a team that's going to make at some point. I think you run into a problem if what you have is 3 teams in a conference that are, 5 or above seeds, five or more favorable seeds, and nobody else in the league got anywhere. Part of the thing about the ACC, other than it has 32 teams in its damn conference now, is that they get 10 bids. The Big Ten gets 10 bids. The, other leagues get 10 bids, and the Pac-12 sometimes doesn't get a whole heck of a lot of those. And right now I'm looking at 3 teams that belong in the tournament and nobody else that maybe does.
All right, fair enough. Now, before we sign off here, and I might be off next Saturday, and I'm going to break the news here to Shu that I might ask Shu to host if possible.
And that may be an issue. I may be out of town too.
Oh, you might have been out of town.
We'll have to navigate and see what's going on.
Well, Anthony's generally available to be on Saturdays too, so I'm going to probably ask Anthony as well to be on. So, but if they can't, we'll figure it out. But that's called a tease right there. But this is the AZ.
Is that what that was called?
That was called a tease. Yes,
I see. All right.
This is the AZ Wildcats podcast, and on the AZ Wildcats podcast, we can also make fun of ASU before we sign off. They're playing here in about 15 minutes, and I say we make fun of ASU for a second, guys. That game against Washington State, and unfortunately, I watched quite a bit of it. I mean, that was as ugly a basketball game as I have ever seen on the high school or college level.
Yeah, it was
29 points.
I wasn't watching until somebody sent me a text. Was it you, Mike? I can't remember who it was.
It was me.
It was like 26-9 at halftime. Was that the score?
Yes.
And I swear to God, and my first reaction was that must be some kind of typo, right?
No.
I go online to check it. 9 points. Well, now that was a train wreck, and you got to watch the rest of it.
What was great about it, too, is that they're booing ASU as they're walking off the court. And Bobby Hurley's asked about it in the post game. And he's asked about it. They said, I can't remember who it was. I think it was somebody from the Republic asked him, well, did you hear the boos? And Bobby Hurley says, well, yeah. And then he said, what did you and he says, what did you think about the boos? And he says, we deserved them. We scored 9 points in the first half.
That's a good answer. It's not it's a question you don't necessarily want to get. It's easy to be defensive about it, but sometimes there isn't much more that can be said. And at least to his credit, he said it right. He didn't hide away from crap. And that's I'm fascinated by how quickly, I want to say quickly.
Yeah, you're right.
Quickly's never been a good ASU's never been a good team, but under Hurley, they seem like they can win 18 to 22 and be competitive.
Yeah,
right.
But,
and this team doesn't look anything. This team's lost. And I'm baffled by what appears to be a dearth of talent just because it appears they lost one player. Now, granted, the player's really good, but maybe that has a lot to say about Hurley's style, which seems to be, if I can get 2 or 3 players, maybe I'll just give them the ball and hope for the best. And then, just try to have filler out there. Well, if those guys are gone, then you have filler, and filler sucks. And one of the lines on DraftKings, the last I saw that had me utterly perplexed.
I know where you're going with this.
Is that Oregon was a 9-point favorite at home against ASU?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know how much that line, if that line has changed since, it was maybe 24 hours ago that I saw that, but I was a little thrown off by that number.
I think I saw that just a couple hours ago. So, if people who listen to the, this podcast and others were really smart, they may have parlayed the Arizona and ASU games.
I know somebody who did that. One of Anthony, a good friend of yours and mine, who happens to live in the East Valley, parlayed those 2 very games on DraftKings.
Could be exactly correct. Yes.
Could this be a
move, right? Yes.
Could this be a very close friend of both of yours?
Well, it's possible. I don't know if he's working or if he's at home at the moment.
Oh, God.
But really,
that's terrible.
Yes, sometimes it's the same. Yes.
Guys, as always, Arizona beat him down.
We laughed.
Arizona beat down. That was some inside baseball right there, but that was very funny just from an outside observer. You can text me with your questions, and I'll refer you to either Anthony or Shu with to the answer. But as always, out there, everyone, appreciate you. Appreciate all the remarks. Almost 100 on this one.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Thanks so much.
Yes, as always, AG, Shu, appreciate you guys. Everybody out there that commented, that listened, really appreciate all you guys. Anthony, thanks for being a good sport with this new segment. As you could see, there's a lot of people that liked it, and it wasn't just me that liked it as well. I think part of it was because of my my Photoshop work, which I actually didn't participate in, but so we'll leave it at that. But again, for everybody out there, appreciate all you guys, and we'll see you coming up this week. Arizona plays Wednesday and then Saturday. So for John Schuster, Anthony Gimino, I am merely Mike Luke. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.